the Red Wing Iron Ranger Blackout Edition. A few months ago, we posted a pair of Iron Rangers that a customer sent in, and he wanted us to customize them to all black. That post blew up. We got so many requests about it, we just couldn't wait for another customer to want it all blacked out so we could make a video for you guys. So I'm really excited about this particular project because I know how it's going to come out, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. So let's dig in. So I like to do a little teaching for young cobblers that don't have mentors while I'm doing videos. So what this tool is a heel lift, and as you saw, I slid it under this way to get started. Once I got it pried up, I turn it this way, and that gives you more leverage. And then you can work those nails out. Once you get it so far, you can grab your nippers, start pulling that thing out. Usually in my videos you see where I slide the knife in right here and cut in between the welt and the sole to remove it. But this is a brand new boot, and the brand new boot, the glue is really set in. It hasn't had any flexing or anything to make it loose, so I could actually cut some of the boot while I'm cutting it around. So on the Iron Rangers, they use a nylon thread, so it's a lot easier to do it this way. But some people see me do it this way and think, oh, that's the way you do everything. It is not. It's not a cure-all easy way to do it. It just happens to be easier on the Iron Ranger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over and sand the tops off of every one of these stitches, and then the sole pull off, and then I can pull the stitches out with ease. I can start right up here with my nippers, and you can see this just pulls right off. And then I get back here and I want to work the nails out. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to pick this first stitch right here, get this going. I like to use a flat bill plier. Once it gets going. And as you can see, it pulled out all the stitches. So now if you were just doing a resole, this right here is ready to go. You know, I got to clean a couple of fuzzies out, but these are actually getting new welts because we're taking everything black. Now if you were doing a resole, if you notice right here, a little hunk of cork came out with the sole, and this pulled up. That's why I recommend, because this is hot cork, it's not glued down, it's not supposed to be. It's put in hot, and it adheres good enough for the sole, but when you pull the sole off, you're better off to replace the cork every time, because you never know where when you pulled, you can't always see. See right here is a bubble. See how that pushes down? That's a bubble right there that looks like it's okay, but if you do a new sole, you're going to have squeaks. So I'm going to take the heel rand off, get it out of my way, and then it's easiest to get the shank out. Now you got all that backside cork out. Now up here, what I like to do is turn my heel lift sideways and break the bond around this edge. First, that helps me keep from tearing up the gimming trying to get rid of the cork. So I want to get it off of that gimming, and then I can work the middle out. When you're doing new welts, you really got to clean the cork out a lot better around the edge here, because you don't want that getting hung up in your stitching. Now, I've got experience in, I might be making this, sliding this through the cork look easy. I'm actually using a lot of strength. If you don't have that strength, you can do little short jabs like this and work that cork off until you get it all out of there. Now you definitely want to get rid of that hot glue, because when you bond the shanks back down, that glue is not going to stick to your glue very well, and it can create a squeak down the road. Okay, we got all this out of the way. And sometimes, especially when you're working on an older Iron Ranger or other boots and shoes, the gimming will come loose, and you want to line that back up and maybe even take your pen and mark where it's supposed to be, like that, and then you fold it up and cement it, and cement both sides and let it heat and cool or dry, and stick it down before you go pulling your welts and stuff off. You want to make sure your gimming is in good place before you pull those welts off, or otherwise you can misshape the person's boot or shoe. So this is a chain stitch that holds this on, so you just got to break. See right here where they got this knot up in the top side? That's why it's not continuing to go, but that means they had a little hiccup with their McKay when they, or their stitcher when they put it on. Their Goodyear stitcher, it wasn't a McKay that did this. Don't want to give you young guys hope that you can sew welts on with a McKay, because you can't. Alright, so I'm probably going to have trouble over here. Nope, that one went right past it, but there you go. Alright, so if you see, your last stitch right here was right here, and what you want to do is you want to start your welt just beyond that, because we're gonna bevel this part here down so we get a good blend between the heel rand and the welt. So we want to give a little bit of excess, and then you lay it right up to your boot, and you come around and follow the contour of your boot, and then boom, that's where you want to cut your welt at. And I've learned through the years that the other boot is typically, especially with you having a little overlap, they're going to be the same, so I don't have to measure the other boot. I can just go ahead and cut it the same as my welt. Now we've got to sand this. This is actually the Red Wing color for their original welts, because we get this from the company that makes the welts for Red Wing, and we've got to sand this off so the dye will stick better, because this, it won't stick to this very well. That's why we didn't just dye the welts. Okay, so if you notice right here, there's a lot of wax from the threads when they were stitched. So we've got to make sure we get that, or otherwise the dye is not going to penetrate and keep the threads black they'll end up like a grayish color. So I'm using acetone, and I'm gonna really clean this area. I've got to wipe the whole boot down because this particular customer didn't just want the threads dyed. He wants this boot to be a dressy boot because of his career, and so he wants this boot to be shiny instead of dull like it normally is. So I've got to really make sure I get this wax off though, so I'm going over this a lot more. The rest of the boot's just a simple wiping. The rest of the boot is just a simple wiping like this. But this thread area, I got to really clean it a few times. I'm not really scrubbing. Scrubbing's not going to do any good, but around this wax I am giving it a little bit of pressure. And you can see Iron Rangers have a really good dye because it's not turning the cotton ball black or real black like a lot of shoes that we would be doing. I wouldn't get half as the distance out of a cotton ball and it would be saturated with black. So they use a good quality leather. Now I did mention this guy's doing this for his career. He's a pilot, and I was just thinking we might call these the Iron Pilots. That'd be kind of cool. What do you guys think about that? All right, so this is a Fiebing's Pro dye. It's different than their standard dye. We have found that this works a lot better on leathers that are difficult, like exotic leathers like lizard, eel, things like that, and oil tan, chromexyl. The Pro dye is got more solvent in it, and I think it penetrates better. We're doing that, plus it'll give a higher gloss shine for him, or more of a shine to this leather. If you notice, I'm dyeing the threads first and then going around and getting the rest of the boot when I have a lot of dye on my, just after I dip my dauber, because I really want that liquid to saturate those threads. After I get the excess off of the dauber, then I move on to the rest part of the leather, and it's plenty, soaking up plenty that way. All right, so we got the welts dyed and polished. We always put polish over the dye before you put them on, because that way it doesn't come off, seals it in. On this side, I like to rough them up because we've had so many welts that if we don't rough them up, when you stick it, it just doesn't want to bond and you'll get just a little pull away. So I like to rough it up after I've done the polish. That way any polish that got on there will get cleaned off. Wow, man, look at the difference in that shine. These things really shined up well. I wanted to get all the shine done, make sure everything was done so we didn't have anything under the welts before I got started on the welts. A couple of things I want to point out about sewing your welts on. One, I've talked about this in other videos, but some of you may not have seen that video. There is a channel cut right here, and that's where your awl goes in. And when it goes in, you do not want to go straight through like that, because then you're going to show up out here on the flat surface of your welt, which does a couple of things. One, it takes away part of your surface. But the other is you're going to see that stitch once this welt is put, the sole is put on and everything is turned down. You're going to see every one of your stitches. So when you're poking your awl through, you want it to be up against the boot, and you want to go at an angle so that you come out, see in this part right here, that's what that lip is for. It's cut at a slant. See how it's cut at a slant? And that makes it curve up against the boot real well, and it also hides your stitch. Your stitch is just under the ledge. Now you have to be careful not to go too shallow with it like this, because now you're at the edge and it can easily tear when it's put under pressure, under duress. So you want to make sure of those things. And then the other important thing that I wanted to point out is now you can see we have come this far and we're about to go around the toe of the boot. A lot of people will just continue to sew around like this, and this will be way down here, stuck up, hugged up to the boot. Then when you try to turn it, it's not gonna want to turn, and it's going to cause buckles and wrinkles and all kinds of problems and put a lot of stress on your stitching that shouldn't be there. So as you're stitching around, come into your channel where you should be. Pull your stitch through. Just like we talked about before, and pull this down and get it in place. Now before you pull this tight, you don't want this turned down this way, because you're going to pinch all that leather that way. You want to hold your leather up. Okay, and see, I pulled that through, get it there. Now I'm ready, and I hold it up and pull tight. Now see how that made that stand out like a ledge that it should be. And now it'll go around, and then you can hammer this area right here once everything's done. So you see now it's a smooth transition from here to here, and you're not going to have a lump from your sole. So this welt right here is on, and you can see it's got some high spots and things like that. But you can see we've got a nice flat lip sticking around, so it's not getting a lot of pressure to turn it down. But now I want to take and I want to hammer all the way around this and take out these high spots. Okay, so now we've got the cork in, and it's time to put the heel rand on. The Iron Ranger heel rand is made out of a leatherboard paper type material, so it's a good product, but it's not as good as leather. So when we do new welts, we automatically do new heel rands made out of leather. And so you saw me sanding the cork and putting a bevel on the end of the welt right here with that piece of leather stuck under it so I didn't hit the boot. So what I did was I put a bevel on my heel rand right here, and that bevel matches the bevel I put on the welts. So before you attach your heel rand, because you're going to nail it in, You want to be sure to reach inside your boot and take the heel pad out. That way when you put your nails in here, you're not driving them through the heel pad. We get so many in that they have been repaired and the heel pad has holes in it from where the nails went through it. So it only takes a couple to hold the heel rand in place. You don't have to put a ton of tacks. It's just holding it there until you get the midsole on, and then you're going to really put your nails to it to hold everything down. So this is just making it stay in place. So now you'll see my heel rand is enormous. Big compared to the original. I'm going to trim this up to fit the boot now. I cut them always big, depending on whether I'm doing a block heel, a Cuban style heel, logger heel, dogger heel. This one's going to be getting a block style heel, so I'll be cutting it closer. Now you noticed I sanded the leather on these midsoles. I sanded both sides, the side that was already rough and the side that was smooth. That's because the side that was smooth was made to be a sole. Now it's going to be a midsole, and you need a good suede leather to be a good bond. So I didn't want to trust the factory sueding because sometimes particles can get pressed in there and you can end up with a squeak. So I wanted to make sure I got a good sanding on both sides, even though one side was already seemed to be roughed up. Now we always pre-flex the leather before we put it on, and that helps people who have boots that are already broken in not think they ended up starting in a new boot again, and it helps people who have new boots not have to have as much trouble breaking them in. Okay. You ready?
Yep.
The key to putting the cement on, my brother who trained me told me 1,000 times if he told me once, cement don't stick where cement ain't at. So make sure you put plenty of cement on, and then you can use your brush to come back and clean off the excess so you don't have excess blobs anywhere. now that all of the nails have been driven through the heel base and everything that's going to go inside the shoe, I want to glue the heel pad back in place. So there you have it, the blacked out Iron Rangers. Man, these things came out great, I think. That's a beautiful boot. And I was really surprised at how much better they shined up, because this is such a matte leather. You know, I didn't know it was going to get that good of a sheen, but it really did. So I hope you guys enjoyed what we did today. If you did, drop a comment, hit a like, definitely subscribe. We need your subscriptions to keep the channel going. And, you know, hey, while you're commenting, let us know some future projects you'd like for us to do. Maybe we'll have something come in and we'll be like, hey, everybody's interested in seeing this. We'll add it to our video list. See you next time.